So for Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, they're told they have everything that grows to eat. Okay? Now you're going to get a little bit of my own midrash, right? My own analysis of what we have in the Torah. Okay? So we don't see anything of humans eating meat from Adam and Eve on. Then, what happens with Noah? What's the Noah story? Forget eating. Forget, not the animals yet. Why do we need animals 2 by 2? Why was there a flood? We're not at Sodom and Gomorrah yet. Cleanse the earth of evil people. Right? People are evil. Okay, the world has become evil. The best person, and we hear he wasn't even so great, but the best option was Noah. So let's take Noah and his family, start from there, save 2 of every animal, and let's start clear. Okay? Right after the flood, God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fertile and increase and fill the earth. The fear and the dread of you shall be upon all the beasts of the earth and upon all the birds of the sky. Everything with which the earth is astir, and upon all the fish of the sea, they are given into your hand. Every creature that lives shall be yours to eat, as with the green grasses I give you all these." So now, again, my own little personal midrash. It's almost like God is admitting that humans need meat. Okay? Now, I'm not blaming the whole wickedness of the people before, during Noah's time, on the fact that they were vegetarians. Okay? But there was something happened, right? And now, instead of being told you just have the fruits and the vegetables, now we're told any meat, any animal that's there, it's yours to eat. Okay? But, and now this is Noah's time. There's no Jews yet, right? This is for the whole world. This is everyone. Okay? But, you must not, however, eat flesh with its lifeblood in it. Okay? So yes, we're making this allowance that you can eat meat. But you can't eat animals that are still living. Right? Think, they didn't have refrigeration at this time. Right? So if you had a chicken and you wanted dinner, right? Well, if you kill the whole chicken, that's not going to last. So I'm guessing what people would do would be to cut the chicken's leg off, eat it, and leave the rest of the chicken alive for later. Right? So what we're told is, right, you can eat meat, but there are limits. Okay? You can't just do whatever you want. Animals do whatever they want. Right? But as humans, you can't just do whatever you want. Okay? What will happen as we go on is that as we're given our commandments, as Jews, we're going to be given more limitations. All right? I really believe that the reason we have this is not because pigs cause trichinosis, or not because, is that the right word? I think it is, right? Or not because the shrimps were eating waste at the bottom of the river and are that may have been part of it. There may have been things about those animals. But I really think it was saying that eating, we don't eat like animals eat. Right? We have some kind of limit to what we can and can't eat. Okay? So biblically, we're going to get forbidden animals. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "To them speak to the Israelite people thus. First you have mammals. These are the creatures that you may eat from among all the land animals. Any animal that has true hoofs with clefts through the hoof." Right? So you have to have a cleft hoof. I don't know that that's exactly what it looks like, but divisions in the hoof. Why? I have no idea. Okay? The rabbis tell us that these are laws that we're not supposed to ask why. They're not supposed to make sense. You're supposed to do them even though they don't make sense for the rabbis. Okay? And that choose the cud. Right? Do we have any biologists? good, because I don't really know what I'm talking about, but what this, well, I'm not going to draw it. This is an animal that either has multiple stomachs, right, and will swallow the food, regurgitate, chew again, go into a different stomach, regurgitate, chew again. I think you can chew your cud even with one stomach. This is where my biology is a little weak, okay? So then we're going to get, but it has to do both, right? So the following, however, of those that either chew the cud or have true hoofs, you shall not eat. The camel, although it chews its cud, it doesn't have cleft hoofs, it's unclean for you. The daemon, we don't really know what that is, although it chews the cud, it has no true hoofs. You're getting the, right? So we're going to go through a list of animals that chew the cud, but don't have cleft hooves. Now, if you've ever wondered why pork gets the stigma that it does, right? And pork, of all the forbidden foods, pork is viewed as the worst, right? Why? The swine, although it has true hoofs, with the hoofs cleft through, it does not chew the cud, it is unclean for you. And what the Midrash, the later rabbinic text, will tell us is that the pig is trying to trick us, right? Externally, it looks kosher. It has the physical necessity of the cleft hooves, but it doesn't chew the cud. So it's hiding its uncleanliness. So that's why pig has gotten kind of a bad rap. Okay? Questions about mammals? Fish. These you may eat of all that live in water, anything in water, whether the seas or in the streams, that has fins and scales. These you may eat. But anything in the seas or in the streams that has no fins and scales, among all the swarming things of the water and among all the other living creatures that are in the water, they are an abomination for you. An abomination they shall remain. You shall not eat of their flesh. You shall not abominate their carcasses. Everything in the water that has no fins and scales shall be an abomination for you. Okay? Doesn't say anything about being a scavenger, right? It's about fins and scales. The big debate in the world today is swordfish. Anyone know why? Swordfish is born with scales, but loses its scales as it grows up. Halibut doesn't have scales? You sure?
Positive.
I will have to look that up. Because I know I've eaten halibut, and I'm pretty sure halibut's considered a kosher fish. So I will remind you. Okay? All right, poultry. The following you shall abominate among the birds. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the kite, falcons of every variety, all varieties of raven, the ostrich, the night owl, the seagull, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Why? We're going to go, I don't need to read them all. Oh, no. They don't say why. I thought they said why. But we know what they are, right? What are they? These are all scavengers, right? Or there's something about them that's strange. But chicken, really chicken and turkey is what we're left with. Okay, insects, just in case you were wondering. All winged swarming things that walk on fours shall be an abomination for you. But these you may eat among all the winged swarming things that walk on fours. All that have above their feet jointed legs to leap with on the ground. Of these you may eat the following: locusts, bald locusts, crickets, and grasshoppers. So you're okay. Huh? Do I? Who would eat those? An ancient people who needed something to eat. Right? So chocolate-covered grasshoppers are okay. The following shall be unclean for you among the things that swarm on the earth: the mole, the mouse, great lizards of every variety. So if you're a fan of gator, sorry. The gecko, the land crocodile, there you go. The lizard, the sand lizard, and the chameleon. You also can't eat any of those little guys that we get in the house. You shall not eat among all things that swarm on the earth anything that crawls on its belly. Snake isn't kosher. Or anything that walks on fours, or anything that has many legs, for they are an abomination. Then we get further. It's not just the kind of animal, it's also how the animal dies. You shall not eat anything that has died a natural death. give it to the stranger in your community to eat, or you may sell it to the foreigner, for you are a people consecrated to the Lord your God. And then we also get, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Okay? Boiling a kid in its mother's milk is one of our more complicated laws. And I think, have I taught it to you already? Because I did the fence, right? This is an example, this is the example of a fence around the law, right? This was probably a pagan ritual where they would slaughter a baby goat, milk the mother, and boil the goat in the mother's milk, okay? But in order to make sure that we don't break the law, we build a fence around it. Did I tell you the joke? I know I told you the joke. I'll tell it to you one more time. 3 times in the Torah, it says, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. This is true. That's not a joke. Okay? So 3 times it says, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. And the rabbis tell us, nothing in the Torah is superfluous. Everything has a reason. That's also not a joke. Okay? So why does it say 3 times, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk? This is the joke. God said to Moses, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Moses said, oh, so you don't want us to eat any milk and meat together? God said, no, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Moses said, oh, so you want us to wait 6 hours after eating meat before we eat dairy, and then 30 minutes after eating dairy before we eat meat? God said, no, don't boil a kid. No, the no isn't supposed to be in there. God said, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Moses said, oh, so you want us to have separate sets of dishes, one for meat, one for dairy? And God said, Moses, do whatever the hell you want. Okay? That's the joke. The rabbinic interpretation is that God tells us 3 times, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. 1, because we're not allowed to eat milk and meat together. 2, we're not allowed to cook milk and meat together, even if we're not going to be the ones to eat it. And 3, we're not allowed to benefit from the mixture of milk and meat. So like you couldn't even give your dog milk and meat together, because then you're benefiting from the mixture. There's a whole bunch of rabbinic understanding of this milk and meat rule. The traditional, current, Orthodox understanding, okay, is that no fish is not considered meat. Fish is something called, and this, oh, and I'm sorry they left, because this is in the conversion terms. So, Jeff, you're on telling Amanda and Lauren, okay? Fleischig is meat. Milchig is fish. No, it's dairy. And parve, or usually people say parve, is neither. Okay, something that's parve can be eaten with dairy or with meat. Okay? When you see things in the store, they'll have the circle U, and it'll either have a D for dairy, a P for parve, and I think it's an M. I think it's an M for meat. I don't remember. You don't see the meat one very often. So, surprising, mostly meat and milk is fairly self-explanatory. I'll tell you a few that might be surprising to you. Fish is parve. Okay? Fish is not considered meat. Eggs are parve. Eggs are not considered meat. I think those are the 2 big ones. Chicken is considered meat. This is one of my big interests. There is one rabbi in the Talmud who it says that he was seen eating a milk soup with a pigeon head in it.